Today I'm going to show you the 5 different levels of ground strokes that I think every player needs. If you're just starting out playing, this is great because you can start right from level 1 and progress through the levels, developing all kinds of different shots. If you've been playing for a while, you should still go back and revisit some of these levels because I've run across a lot of players that might know how to hit a topspin forehand, but they don't know how to play good defense because they haven't gone through the levels. And so we're going to start off on the forehand side. Level 1 is just a simple block swing. And so we want to have our paddle open, impacting the bottom part of the tennis ball with very limited swing. The more open our paddle is, the less effort it's going to take to make the ball over the net. And so that's why this is level 1. We have a very limited swing. We're developing control. And as a result of getting level 1, we can start rallying with a partner. So here's how level 1 looks. Aiming nice and high above the net so that there's no risk of hitting in the net. Start slightly below the ball, and I'm just impacting a little bit like this. Now the grip that I want to use for this on the forehand side is called a Continental Grip, and so my hand is underneath the paddle in a very relaxed position. Now level 2 is I'm doing that same swing, but I'm adding a little bit of backspin to the ball. So instead of just impacting like this, now I'm going to take a little more back swing, and I'm going to lead with the bottom edge of the paddle first so that I generate some back spin on the ball. This would be considered more of a defensive slice. So I'm still going low to high, trying to make the ball rise as it's crossing the net. And this is great for defense. By adding spin, I can control the ball better because I can slow it down if need be. And so I'm cutting the ball a little bit more on this one, but notice I'm not breaking my wrist when I do so. And so level 2 is especially great when it comes to lobbing the ball, right? You have a player at the net that you're playing against, you're trying to put it over their head or give them a difficult overhead. Being able to put a little backspin on it, you can control that lob. A lot of people say that they can't lob because the court's too small, but you can definitely lob if you have control and if you put spin on the ball. Level 3 is going to be more of an offensive slice, and so what I mean by that is we're going to actually impact from above the ball, coming down the back side of the ball instead of coming into the bottom of the ball like we did in levels 1 and 2. We're going to use the same grip again, and this ball ideally should be falling as it's crossing the net, creating a low, difficult shot for your opponent. So this is the offensive slice. Notice I'm starting slightly above the ball, coming down the back, but I'm maintaining this angle at the end, so I'm not doing anything coming across. And so if my contact point's too in front of me, I might be inclined to swing across, which is not good. And so I want to find the right zone to play the ball in so that I can keep this angle here. So offensive slice. And because of the name, you don't want to use it when you're in trouble, when you're in a defensive position. So if you're on the run, maybe you have a really low ball, you don't have a lot of time, go with the defensive slice every time. But then when you're set up, you have a little more time, maybe you're moving forward, then you can go with the offensive slice. Level 4 is a flat forehand, and so we're actually going to rotate the grip. We're not in the Continental Grip anymore, but we're going to turn our hand back on the grip until it's comfortable to have our paddle at a neutral angle so that we can impact the ball pretty much dead on into the back of it. And when you start out doing this, just simplify the backswing. So we want to turn with 2 hands on the paddle so that way it turns our shoulders, and we're just impacting the ball from slightly below it, not too much. So this ball's not going to be very high above the net, so it's actually a risky shot, but it's good to learn this one before topspin because learning slice to topspin is a dramatic change. And then later on, you might be attacking with this shot because it's lower above the net, so it's going to give your opponent less time. I'm not getting much in terms of spin on the ball. I might naturally get a little bit of topspin, but I'm not trying to. And then finally, level 5, we can use the same grip. Now, I recommend not going too extreme on your grip, meaning that we don't want to turn our hand too much behind the paddle because then that's going to close our face a lot, making it hard to lift the ball. And so I like actually being in an Eastern forehand grip for the topspin. The difference with the topspin, though, is I'm going to lead with the top edge of the paddle first, coming up into the ball, which means I need to start lower so that I can generate this spin on the ball. So level 5, topspin forehand. Same thing, I'm doing a simple backswing again. And notice my swing is a lot more vertical on the topspin one versus more horizontal on the flat one. So I'm starting substantially lower than the ball, and I'm really lifting it, leading with that top edge first. Okay, now I'm just going to do 5 shots. going through each of the 5 levels in a row before we move on to the backhand side. So level 1, block shot, impacting into the bottom of the ball. Level 2, defensive slice, adding a little more backspin to the ball by taking more backswing, leading with that front edge. Level 3, offensive slice, starting higher than the ball, cutting down the back of it. Level 4, changing my grip, flat forehand, impacting from slightly below the ball, simple turn. Level 5, topspin forehand, same grip, starting way below the ball, impacting with the top edge of the paddle. So now we'll go through the 5 levels on the backhand. So same concept. My first one is a block backhand, level 1. And so I want to rotate my hands on the paddle until I get the desired open angle of the paddle, and I have a very relaxed wrist. So if my hand is too far behind the grip like this, then I'm gonna have to bend my wrist to get it open, which I don't want. And so instead I just rotate my hand until it's relaxed. I can do 2 hands or 1 hand. I recommend starting out with 2 hands and seeing how it feels. And then if you want to do 1 hand, at least take the paddle back with 2 hands and then let go of the top hand. Okay, so impacting the bottom of the ball, not doing very much swing, just a little bit of turn, and that's it. So low to high there, nice and high above the net. Now level 2, that defensive slice. So I'm going to add a little bit more backspin to it, which is going to require more back swing, and leading with that bottom edge of the paddle first, still trying to make the ball rise off my paddle though. So I'm hitting a high defensive slice here. So I got a little more backspin that time because I impacted with the bottom edge first. So this is going to be great for my defensive lob. I'll show you quickly 1 hand how you would do the same thing. I turn with 2 hands and then I swing with 1 hand, trying to maintain this angle though so I'm not breaking the wrist again. Offensive slice. Now depending on the height of the ball, you may change your grip a little bit, but for now let's practice with a low ball. Let's keep the same grip as we had before. Our hand is turned forward on the grip so that we can come in with a pretty open racket face on the lower ball. Still going to turn with 2 hands, starting above the ball this time though, for a more offensive slice. Now as I hit this shot, as my paddle's going forward, my back arm should go back. That means that I made good contact and I'm not coming across the ball, but instead I have a nice natural motion here. Now as the ball gets higher, I might have to rotate into more of a continental grip so that I can get my paddle face more close. So I'm just going to turn my hand back on the grip as it starts getting higher. So here's a couple higher backhand slices. Notice my back is almost facing the court when I'm hitting the ball. That's a good position to be hitting this shot out of. Level 4 is the flat backhand. And so I want to rotate my hands instead of like this now. I want to rotate them back on the grip like I'm revving a motorcycle so that I can get a very neutral paddle face. I'm going to do a simple turn and I'm going to come in from slightly lower than the ball, trying to impact the back part of the ball. Flat backhand, not much in the way of spin. And so as a result, I'm going to clear the net not very high, because if I don't, it's going out a lot more often. And then finally the topspin backhand. So level 5, I'll keep that same grip, but I'm going to drop the paddle head even a little bit lower and come in with the top edge of the paddle first to generate that end over end rotation. Simple turn, brushing up the back part of the ball instead of directly impacting the back part of the ball. Okay, now we'll quickly go through the 5 levels. Block backhand, bottom of the ball. No spin on the ball really, no intentional spin. Level 2, defensive slice backhand. Getting more spin because I'm leading with that bottom edge. Level 3, offensive slice. 2 hands or 1 hand. There's a 2-handed example. 1-handed example. Level 4, flat backhand, starting slightly lower, impacting the back part of the ball. Level 5, topspin backhand, starting way below, trying to get a lot of end over end rotation on the ball. So I recommend you practice these 5 levels because every opponent you play is not going to have the same game, and so you may be very comfortable hitting certain shots, but those might not work against certain opponents. So it's important to have a lot of variety in your game and also be able to have a lot of control and play good defense. So obviously levels 1 and 2 are very crucial for when you're on the run or don't have a lot of time, being able to put the ball up in the air and keep yourself in the rally.